Hello everyone, the Instant Camera Guy here, and welcome to what will be just a little update video. I've had a lot of frequently asked questions recently and a lot going on in my life and in the business that I thought could just warrant a few updates. First of all though, for anyone looking at home, look how nice this blue and chrome SX-70 is that I made the other day. Isn't that just bloody fantastic looking? I think it looks so sexy. I'm going to sell this thing very soon, but I just wanted to show that off on video. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is possibly one of the biggest changes in my life that I think can ever happen to an individual, and that is that around December this year, my wife and I are expecting our first child. This isn't something that I've made many announcements about at all in terms of social media, because I am, at the end of the day, quite a private person. But I wanted to give everyone a heads up that basically around Christmas time they're due, yeah, my life's gonna change a lot. In terms of how it'll affect the business, since I work from home, I don't see many things changing. For the most part, it will be business as normal, but obviously with a newborn comes a lot of challenges, so in the new year I may end up working a little slower than normal. So all that I do is, all that I want is to just for everyone to respect my privacy and just be understanding if things take a little bit longer in the new year. I'm sure having a baby in the house is going to throw a spanner in the works, but for the most part I think it'll be business as normal. But yeah, if I don't respond to your emails or your messages for, you know, a day or something like that, then it's probably because I have a screaming child in the house. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the US tariff situation. Fortunately, after a tremendous amount of stress, I have managed to escape the tariff situation effectively unscathed. As I had sort of always anticipated and planned on, the fact that I am in Australia refurbishing American-made cameras, these cameras were all made in Cambridge, Massachusetts, if you can have a look at the sticker there. So these are American cameras. And there's a few reasons that basically means that when you are an American and you send your camera to me and I repair it and send it back, it basically avoids any need to pay tariffs because, first of all, it is a returned good, it isn't an import. Second of all, the item's origin is the USA, it is simply going back home. Third is that when you repair stuff in some select countries overseas, Australia being one example of that, we are exempt from tariffs. With that said, in the early days of this whole tariff situation, US Customs was making a lot of mistakes. One of the cameras I sent back to a client, I got slugged a whopping $116 fee, which was insane, just for the privilege of sending to the USA. But for the most part, that has now calmed down. If anyone wants a deeper dive into all the nonsense that I've had to deal with over the last few months in regards to the USA tariff situation and the de minimis exemption being removed, I did a massive Reddit post, which I will link in the video description below. I highly recommend that you go and read it if you want an understanding of what it's like to be outside the USA and having to send parcels into the USA. But yes, I'm happy to report that everything in Australia, I've been completely unscathed, it hasn't affected me, and it's business as usual. The next thing I wanted to say is the PolaStrobe 600, the flash that I showed off on this channel a few months ago, is still going into production. I had the guy that's making them basically send me some more revisions. I helped him with some of the English on the back of the PCB, so because this had some delightfully Chinglish incorrect spellings like warming instead of warning and trun instead of turn. But I have corrected those typos for them, and the new flashes should be coming out with black PCBs, not purple. I still don't have any confirmation as to when they will be coming out, but I do believe that I'm going to have approximately 20 or so in stock, hopefully, once they're all ready to be sent out. And once I have them in stock, I'll be advertising as such. So there's no need to ask me if I have any in stock. If I do have any in stock, I will be posting to my social media and across the board. And priority, I think, at the moment will be to send back flashes to those that are having a camera serviced, because it's just going to be a lot more cost effective in terms of shipping to, you know, just send it back attached to the camera or alongside the camera in the same package, compared to just sending the flash on its own. But we'll see what happens. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the dongles. This is the dongle that I use to test clients' cameras. It is my personal one. The dongles have been out of stock for quite some time. I haven't sold these for months, and the reason is that these dongles are undergoing a design revision. Effectively, from what I've spoken about with Yongmin, these are quite costly to produce, and we want to sort of hit a price point when we sell dongles of, at least at the time of this being recorded, roughly sort of 150 to 200 Australian dollars. And Yongmin and I don't really want the dongles to cost more than that. And this particular design is quite expensive in terms of its shells and size and the parts needed. So the dongle will be being redesigned. The new version, believe it or not, is going to have a touch screen. It's going to be more compact, and it's going to have a few different features, but it will ultimately do the same job. The thing is that Yongmin has to code all of that dongle himself, and it's a long process. Because I knew he was taking so long to program the dongle, I actually told Yongmin, I said, look, stop working on the dongle for a second, because 90% of clients that I have don't even opt for the dongle. They use Bluetooth apps on their phone. I said, what you have to do, make the apps better in the meantime. So that is why the Android app now has half-stop apertures, and why the iPhone app got a significant upgrade, because I basically told Yongmin, look, you're focusing on the wrong thing, switch gears. Dongles will come for the professionals, but do it at a later time and upgrade the app first. So yeah, new dongles, they are coming, but they're going to take time, and it's going to take time to perfect and beta test and that kind of stuff. For now, I would recommend using the app, because the apps in their current version are the best that they've ever been. If you do want a dongle, PolaStrobe is selling their own version. It's based on the first generation of dongles, and has a different, sort of molded plastic design. It looks a bit different to the dongle that I'm handing here, but as far as the time of me posting this video, they still have some dongles in stock on the PolaStrobe website. So if you want to buy a camera from me and it's been refurbished but it doesn't have a dongle, you can always purchase one separately rather than waiting for the new revision to come out. Next subject I wanted to talk about is that in terms of my next repair season, at this stage, I hope to take on the next batch of repairs probably sometime around the end of December, if not the start of January. The reason being is I am just incredibly busy at the moment. The last season of repairs that I took on was back in sort of mid to late August, and I am only just sort of starting to get through August's cameras. I estimated a turnaround time for those sending stuff in for me to be repaired of anywhere sort of between 8 to 30 weeks, depending on when the parcels arrived, with the average being about 20 to 30 weeks, and I am definitely tracking in terms of that. What I didn't anticipate is when I did my last repair season, so many of you sent in multiple cameras. Especially without sort of notifying me. It was sort of like, hey, can I send you a camera? And then all of a sudden I open the box and there's 3 in there. So I don't know if you guys are just trying to take advantage of the fact that, yeah, you know, I opened my orders and you're like, quick, send him as many cameras as you can while he's open. Or whether it's just that, like, some of you wanted like cameras refurbished for a friend and stuff like that. But I am trying to get through the parcels as efficiently as I possibly can. But yes, to those that are waiting, when I'm next open in terms of my repair seasons, you will see me post as such on social media. The last time I did that, I was pretty much booked out within the hour, and I expect that that will be the same going forwards. It is just the nature of the beast in terms of my business. As a one-man operation who prides himself on having some of the highest caliber of work in terms of refurbishing SX-70 cameras, I will end up waitlisted. It's just the way these things roll. When you have a reputation like mine, it just ends up being that you're the guy to go to, and a lot of people want to take advantage of that, and not everyone can send me in their cameras. There is only a finite amount that I can refurbish at any one given time. This is not exclusive to me. This happens basically in any kind of artisanal situation, whether it be a fancy restaurant, whether it be a maker that is in high demand, unique custom jewelry, that kind of stuff. And in the world of cameras, this is also not a unique thing either. I've known so many technicians that were booked out months and months and months in advance. Yoshi from Nagami Camera Repairs had like a 6 months waiting list back where I used to live in Victoria. I know MS Optical had a huge waiting list back when he did custom work on people's cameras. I know John Minix with his Aero Liberators had massive wait lists. And in terms of the SX-70 worlds, before he went to prison and his business had to close down, you guys can Google why that was the case in your own free time. I know that Chromatic Parts, Dennis, who used to run that, at the height of his fame, when his Instagram reels went viral and that kind of stuff, he had a 6 to 9 month wait list on servicing cameras in Europe. Obviously, his business is now closed, and that is for the best. But what I'm trying to say, this isn't unique. I know it's obviously very frustrating. I know that there are more of you out there than I can possibly serve. But I'm doing my best to sort of make it fair for everyone. That's why, it is strictly a first come, first served type of thing. I don't have waiting lists. Part of that is I just don't have the manpower to have someone contact me and I go, okay, I'll get back to you in a few months, and then I email them and then they don't respond, or they've changed their mind or something like that. Unfortunately, there's just sort of no better way to do it than to go, hey, I'm free, who wants me? And then get flooded with orders and then work on them all until I'm free again. That's working really well for me, and hopefully will continue to work really well going into the future. Just on that note, in terms of communication, I wanted to make a note going forwards. If you guys end up seeing some changes on my website, for those that have ever visited my website, you'll see that it's insanely basic. It really only exists to funnel people over to ways to contact me directly, whether it's through social media or email and that kind of stuff. Going forwards, I will be prioritizing Instagram over any other form of communication. And basically, I'm going to have a priority list. My first priority, I will prefer, well, not maybe priority is the wrong words, but my preferences. My first preference will be that you contact me through Instagram for reasons that I'll explain in just a minute. My second preference will be that you do it through Facebook Messenger to my business Facebook. And then my third preference will be contacting me via email. Now, I know what you're saying. I know. I can already sense you guys in the comments below smashing that keyboard going, I don't want to have to rely on Zuckerberg and third-party apps in order to contact you. I blah, blah, blah. And it's good. It's going to be the same argument. And I get that. Trust me. As someone that is running Linux on all their computers and phone, more on that in a minute, and as someone that really values their online privacy, I would be completely getting rid of it if I could. But unfortunately, when it comes to running a business online, there just simply is no other good alternative. And especially for me as a repairman that has to show detailed information to clients, there is no better way to get in communication. If I have someone communicate to me via Instagram, I can simply write down their handle. That always gives me a way to then find them. It's very easy to do so. But most importantly, Instagram allows me to easily send video recordings, photos, and voice memos within seconds, as well as typing information. And I can't overstate how convenient that is for me when I need to show people issues with their cameras. So for example, I had a client the other day, they sent me an SLR 680 and their Fresnel screen, as you can see here, the plastic completely snapped off the side. And this side too. Now this Fresnel screen is completely bricked. It will not work. And if you try and install it into their camera, it's going to leak light through the sides because that plastic trim is missing. Now, this is precisely the kind of thing where if I have to describe this over email, that can easily turn into like a half an hour communication, only for them to go, I don't understand what you mean, can you send photos? And then you send the photos and they can't really understand it. And so it's all too complicated. It's a massive waste of my time. When in comparison, I can pull out my phone, hit record and go, hey, so see how the edge is missing here on the Fresnel screen? Well, that sort of sits in the chassis like so. And basically if those plastic trim bits are missing from the sides, it's going to cause light leaks. And this is a proprietary part that is completely unique, and I'm going to need to source this from a spare parts camera, so as a result, the cost for your build is going to have to go up. How long did that take? What, 30, 40 seconds? I explained all the information, I showed them, and I made the case clear. It's just a lot faster for me to communicate, and when you're as busy as I am, that's becoming like my main priority at the moment, because I can't save time from cutting corners on the cameras. That's not going to work. But I can save time by switching to more effective methods of communication. So yeah, Instagram followed by Facebook Messenger, which is not quite as good, but it's okay. Email tends to be very slow, very formal. It's very difficult to attach videos due to the 25 megabyte size limit. It's just a lot more like clunky and cumbersome. People tend to write very long formal essays to me, which takes up a lot of time. But I also tend to find that when I communicate via email, it takes me so long to get a response from people. Whereas Instagram, it's like almost immediate most of the time, even factoring in time zones. So yes, I get that. I know not everyone is going to like that, but it's just the most convenient thing for me. And it's why you'll find that most independent technicians, and again, I bring up Dennis again, even though he's now closed and in jail, but his business was like exclusively through Instagram. That was the only way to message him pretty much, and how he got all of his clients. And as someone that's done it more and more and more and more and is now at the point of being waitlisted 6 to 9 months too, I get it. It's actually the most convenient, and clients appreciate it. I find that people really like getting sent videos of their camera on the operating bench, so to speak, being worked on. Anyway, I think I've made my point clear enough. So what you'll likely notice on my website going forward is I'm going to really hide my email address to make it more difficult for people to contact me that way. And I'm likely going to have a disclaimer saying that, email is generally going to get slower responses from me, and I prefer other forms of communication because it's easier for me to send me videos and that kind of stuff. You can still email me at the end of the day, but just be aware that that's going forwards, that's not going to be my priority, and I won't be prioritizing that method of communication, at least for the time being. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, and you guys will probably see a video of it at some stage, but I am now running Linux on my Fairphone. Which is really cool. To cut a long story short, Google ended up really cheesing me off in terms of just what they're doing as a company, and given that my phone has a lot of support in the open source community because it's a Fairphone, it's designed to be repairable, Fairphone also give a lot of encouragement for third-party operating systems, such as Ubuntu Touch, which I have installed. The reason that I bring this up is in case you see a video in a few days' time for some reason about a phone, that's why. But also, this phone can emulate Android, so that's what I've just done. I've pulled up the Android mode, so I can open up my business Instagram and that kind of stuff. The thing is that by the nature of this emulating Android, I don't get any notifications on this anymore unless I actively search for them. So unless I go out of my way to check my Instagram, check my Facebook, check my email and that kind of stuff. I just don't get notified purely because of how the operating system works. Like I can go into the web browser on the phone and access Instagram through there, but the only notifications I get is if someone calls or texts me. So it kind of feels like I'm back in 2013 in a lot of ways. But honestly, I don't think I ever want to look back because it has been so good for my mental health to not have that phone constantly blooping at me. As someone that deals with a lot of clients in a lot of time zones and who has a really anally retentive attention to detail, I often find myself responding to people's queries at all hours of the day, even if it's 10:30 at night and my wife and I are trying to, go to bed. Or I might be at a family dinner or something like that. And I do it because I want to have good customer service, but I'm realizing that it's actually becoming detrimental to my mental health. There's sort of like, as a human being, we're only realistically supposed to sort of communicate with like a maximum of 150 people. That is like the maximum number that psychology has determined can like be your friends or acquaintances. And when you run a business like mine, that number goes up exponentially. And so I get a lot of different inquiries. And so I'm changing my business model to basically respond to queries and quotes and stuff when I need to. And so I'm having more designated time. So again, if you now notice that my responses come, in a few hours instead of in a few seconds, that's partly why. Now, when I'm in my workshop, I have my computer next to me, so I can much more rapidly respond to messages. So if it's workshop hours, I generally respond very, very quickly. But for all other time zones, purely out of the novelty of running Linux on my phone, it's going to be a little more of a wait outside of business hours. But I think that's fair. I didn't realize just how mentally taxing it was. And at the end of the day, I don't want to end up grumpy and crotchety. And I know the last few months have been particularly stressful. And, I can come across as blunt at the best of times purely because this is just sort of how Australians communicate. We're very matter of fact. We're very direct. And, a lot of people, I think, can sometimes perceive that as rudeness, but it's not really rudeness. I'm just giving you an answer of only a few words because it's 10:20 at night and I'm about to go to bed. I don't want to do that, so that's why I'm going to move back to Instagram and I'm going to respond to queries when I have more time so that I can do things in the form of a voice memo. So going forward, if you do contact me on Instagram, odds are you're going to end up with a response in the form of a voice memo instead of me texting you at any odd hours of the day. Just because it's easier to get information across. Anyway, that is about all I wanted to cover. I hope the rest of you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.